and welcome to this edition of You and the Law. On You and the Law, what I do is to add law to the news and to also discuss issues of law affecting everyday living. My name is Ekeminudim. I'm a legal practitioner, and I'm always glad to know that you are with me on this channel. In this edition of You and the Law, I'm discussing falsification of age by public servants, by civil servants for purpose of gaining an undue advantage, namely staying in service beyond the time they would have ordinarily retired. Apologies to those that have never falsified their age in the civil service and in the public service. But it has become a recurring thing in this country that a lot of civil servants, a lot of public servants from time to time go back to their files and then reduce their age so as to gain undue advantage by staying in their offices for as long as they would so determine. Are there legal consequences to this? Is there no legal angle to this? There are legal consequences and there are legal angles to this. Now, falsification of age is an offense. Falsification of documents, falsification of anything is an offense. And so, the falsification of age by a civil servant or public servant to gain undue advantage is an offense under the Criminal Code Act and under the Penal Code Act. Now, the Penal Code is applicable in northern part of Nigeria, while the Criminal Code is applicable in southern part of Nigeria. These two pieces of legislation have clearly provided against the offense of forgery. It has provided against the offense of perjury. Because when you falsify your age, you are either going to be tried in court for forgery or for perjury. It is perjury if you have done maybe age declaration and you take it to the court and it is stamped for you, you give the impression that that's your true age. When it is eventually discovered that that's not your true age, and it is also discovered that you had gone to the court by way of an affidavit, you've done it under oath, the lying, when someone lies on oath, that person is guilty of the offense of perjury. So anyone who falsifies his age and goes ahead to lie under oath by getting a stamp of the court on it to make it look as if it is genuine, to make it look as if it is truthful, when other pieces of evidence are presented to the court to show that you were born before that time or you were born after the time that you have so stated, then you will be guilty for the offense of perjury. Now, both perjury and the offense of forgery are offenses also criminalized in the laws of the various states of the Federation. Nigeria is a country with with government at the center and also federating units known as states of the Federation of Nigeria. In each of these states, the houses of assembly have made laws to address criminal actions happening or taking place within the territorial boundaries of each and all the states. So, in the Lagos State law, Lagos State criminal criminal code law, the offense of forgery and perjury have been clearly criminalized with terms of imprisonment provided. You go to the Akwa Ibom State's criminal code law, you go to Anambra State criminal code law, you go to Bayelsa State's criminal code law, you go to Kaduna State, you go to all the states of the Federation, you see where their criminal codes have made clear provisions against the offense of forgery and the offense of perjury. And so, when a civil servant is arrested in such states and then taken to the court, and evidence is shown to the court that the civil servant has falsified his age, then that civil servant either goes in for the offense of forgery or for the offense of perjury, depending on the peculiar situation. Now, each of these offenses, each of these laws, they have made provisions for the punishment to be meted out to anybody who has been found guilty of the commission of these offenses. It ranges from 3 years imprisonment to 7 years imprisonment to 14 years imprisonment. And so, when a civil servant or public servant sets out to falsify his or her age, the legal consequences are there waiting for such civil servant if the civil servant is arrested and then taken to the court for trial and then found guilty. You are certainly going to go to jail. And I do not know whether it's possible for one to go to jail from the civil service or public service and still go back to that person's place of employment as an ex-convict. Even if you're able to go back, things can never be the same again. Your career progression can never be the same again. Now, who are the agencies that can prosecute for the offense of falsification of age? The first agency here is the Attorney General. So the Attorney General of the Federation can prosecute. The Attorney General of all the states of the Federation can also prosecute if the laws in their state have given a clear provision against these offenses. So the Attorney General of the Federation and the Attorney General of the states can prosecute for the offense of falsification of age, for the offense of forgery, for the offense of perjury. The second authority that can prosecute here is the police. The police, they have the power to enforce all the laws that have been enacted by the legislature. And so they naturally have the power to prosecute. Every state command of the police force can prosecute for the offense of falsification of age, for the offense of forgery, for the offense of perjury. Now, the next agency that can prosecute is the ICPC. ICPC was created by an act of parliament to combat corrupt practices in government establishments. And so, falsification of age to continue remaining in the civil service or public service is a corrupt practice on its own. The ICPC can assume its jurisdiction in the law creating the ICPC, its powers in the law creating the ICPC, and then pick a section of the state law in the state where the civil servant or public servant is, and then prosecute for that offense. That is because the ICPC Act allows the ICPC the power to prosecute for those offenses that have been mentioned in the ICPC Act, and to also prosecute for the offenses mentioned in any other act which is related to a corrupt practice by a civil servant or public servant. So the ICPC can rightly prosecute any civil servant or public servant for the offense of falsification of age. The EFCC also has a power. The EFCC has a power to prosecute persons who have committed economic and financial crimes in the laws itemized in the Act creating the ICPC. But the Act also gives the EFCC the power to prosecute offenses in any other law that has bearing one way or the other with an economic and financial crime. It is an economic and financial crime when a civil servant falsifies his age and remains in the civil service and keeps receiving salary instead of retiring. He keeps receiving salary fraudulently. It becomes something within the powers of the EFCC to investigate and prosecute. So the EFCC can also prosecute any civil servant or public servant who is found to have falsified his or her age for purpose of remaining in government service and continuing to receive salary which the person has not merited. So while you are doing your work there in the civil service or in the public service, you should know that you should use your true age in working, and you should understand that if there are documents, maybe your primary school certificate or your original birth certificate that surfaces, and it is kept side by side with what you have now declared to be your age, and it is seen clearly that you have falsified your age, there are legal consequences, there are punishments for anybody who is caught to have done that and who has been found guilty by a court of law of competent jurisdiction. That's the size of this edition of You and the Law. Thank you for watching. I do hope you continue to watch You and the Law, and also hope that you subscribe to this channel so that from time to time we can send you regular notifications on every new video. Every new video has something for you to learn. Thanks for watching. I remain your host, Ekeminidium. I'm a legal practitioner, and I'm always glad to discuss law with you.